Welcome, one and all, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, to Musings.
Welcome back. Countdown, episode 90.
Yeah, we're getting close to that big 100, man. You see it?
What do you reckon is going to happen?
I think some interesting things are going to happen. I think we're going to look pretty fleek.
Yeah.
Fleek, to use an old word now, I guess.
I think that would be an old, yeah.
And yeah, there's going to be a little surprise coming up for the viewers. So make sure you stay along for the journey. It's only 10 more episodes. That's like 3 weeks.
I'd recommend tuning in on the videos. That's where you're going to see the big changes. So that'll be good fun. Musings, we get into the learnings that we have experienced over the last week or so.
Yep.
Or things that come to mind.
Yep.
Kyrin, do you have one that you want to kick us off with?
My back's really sore. My back is really sore.
Yeah, okay.
That's my musing.
That's a learning.
No, so I am getting back to like a very solid stage of handstands again. And it's sort of like PB sort of stage.
Levels,
so today
okay.
I did 83 seconds, which I was very happy with.
Nice.
Which is, I think that's a, tied PB perhaps. And yeah, an encouragement to keep going on even when things are tough, even when you're mentally struggling and seeing like, oh God, I hurt my finger.
Yep.
I've dropped down this huge weight. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Like the mental process that's required to get back to that next level again is something really difficult and interesting. And then here's one which I know we sort of disagree on. So I think it'd be good to explore it a little bit more. I was listening to the Lex podcast. It's Change to the Lex podcast. No more artificial intelligence.
Yeah, okay. I was like, is it the same one? Is it a new one? Okay. Yeah. So same podcast, but it's just new name.
Yeah. And he was talking about how he was getting into like this David Goggins stuff. David Goggins is a psycho. Everyone knows this.
Yep.
But he was saying, he was doing these things where it was like, okay, I have to do 20,000 push-ups or pull-ups or combined of the two in a month. And he started to do it. He got 7 days in and his shoulder started doing like this weird clicking thing.
Yeah.
Like bad stuff started to happen and he just had to like quit for 10 days and then get back into it. And all these people were saying like, you're doing yourself long-term damage doing this. And he goes, yes, I agree. I know this, but the benefits from the mental side of this outweighs the pain that I'm causing in the short term, which also leads into like the long term.
Yeah.
Now I am definitely of the camp, if you're going to call it that way, of don't do the long term damage. Like the mental benefit you get from doing that sort of thing is not worth it. But I have a feeling you might be on the opposite side.
It's not like I'm firmly planted in the other camp though, either. Because I do see where David Goggins is coming from.
Yeah.
But I do think that he is insane. If you're getting to the point where you're doing 20,000 push-ups and my shoulder's starting to give me some real struggles, and you can tell that, no, this is not just like I'm wimping out. There's some real pain coming here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to be messed up for months. No, I'm pulling the plug and I'm making the choice that, no, I'm not going to heal quickly. There's going to impact me in further ways. And long-term, it's going to be a really bad show.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not fully in your camp though still, because I see where you're coming from, where anything that's really going to be hurting that long-term view. So
yeah, well,
it's kind of like the example of like, say with David, if he was doing that and the challenge was, or whether it was money on the line or whatever it was, that maybe for a charity, 20,000 push-ups, if it's going to give you a little bit of struggles at the end of your life because you did that, if in the moment now it does mean a lot and it's accomplishing a lot of things, I'd say go do that. Yes, I totally agree. I'd be signing myself up for that. But if it was for not the right purpose, even for the now, or there was some massive, changes or issues that you're going to have, maybe even just a year's time or further beyond, then no, I'd suggest no. And a lot of what David Goggins does, I do think, no, you're pushing it a little bit too far. Yeah. And his mentality is, you can do more. Whenever you think that you're 50% of the way there, or sorry, 70% of the way there, you're only not even halfway. Or when you're almost done, it's actually, you're halfway.
Just getting started.
You got all this stuff. Which that mentality is a good mentality to have. But you have to have the balance. It's a dichotomy. You can't be thinking that you do 10 marathons in a row and then you have a mindset of like, no, I can do another 10 with no food and no water, and then you die.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not signing myself up for stupidity like that. But I'll give you an example of today. I went on a hike, and the whole trip that it would have been with like 5 odd Ks. And I think I took either one of the wrong turns, but I followed the thing. Anyways, it was 2.4 kilometers that I ended up doing with the weight and whatever else. And at that point, I thought, excellent. It was good pace, not insanely though, but I could have gone maybe a little bit quicker, but I'm happy. And I sat myself down, had a bit of water. And in that particular moment, I thought, no, I could have pushed myself a little bit harder. I could still push myself harder.
Yeah.
And then I went for another K run.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, I guess, maybe with that, I would sit in that camp. But if in that same moment, my ankles were really paining, or I could feel like my calf was about to pull, I would say, no, I'm not doing it anymore. And it might have even prevented me from doing the initial walk.
Yeah. Okay. What about the sleeping? So we discussed this. Not on air, but off air about your sleeping. Do you want to go into that?
I'll talk about so
current mental
not in my learnings that I wrote down, but this is an interesting one. So one of the things that I've looked at for a very long time, and again was kind of a few things popped up in my both what I was listening to on podcasts and a couple of blogs that remind me a lot about it. Yep. And it was all about sleeping, and the whole premise that you can get away as long as you've got the right amount of REM and deep state sleep to kind of go about in your day. And I can't remember specifically the rhythm of it in the way that you can split up your sleeping pattern into 6 different cycles. So, people out there have done it in the way where you sleep for 20, 30 minutes every 4 hours or something like that. And that's all they need, because they've just made it so efficiently so that when you sleep for those little periods, you get REM sleep and deep sleep to the point that you can recover. And so you get like an extra 4 hours out of every single day. Sure, but man, it stuffs up your social life completely and everything else. So I wouldn't really suggest it. But what we were particularly talking about was my sleeping pattern, and I go off just my watch telling me what sort of the sleeping patterns is I realized, okay, I get a lot of deep sleep straight away when I go to bed. And then the REM sleep sort of comes up. But I generally see that at the 4 to 6 hour mark, like between there, it seems like based on the stats, I've hit all my required deep and REM sleep.
Yeah.
And sometimes my body's telling me to wake up at that point. Like I'll wake up and it kind of feels like I'm really quite wide awake, but it's 3 a.m. And I go, okay, well, my alarm goes at 6. I can just sleep a bit more. And then I wake up at 6 and sometimes I'm groggy or 4:30 groggy. So I said to you, well, potentially it is something to try out getting up whenever my body does feel like waking up, or getting up at that 5 hour, after 5 hours of sleep where I've had enough deep sleep and REM sleep. I think one thing you pointed out, which is a good point, is that's only 2 factors of however many other factors there could be that could exist. And I'd also add that I don't know how much the deep and the REM sleep covers the recovery of sort of muscle fatigue and doing stuff, which would be a big thing for me.
Yeah.
So, I'll try. I'll definitely want to trial out. Specifically this week coming, I'm going to set my alarm as per normal. But if I wake up at 3 a.m. and I'm feeling like a little bit wide awake, I'm going to stay awake.
Yeah.
Just to see like, okay, is it totally going to be horrific for me? And am I going to be even like more tired at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Or is it going to enable me to just feel a little bit better in the same rhythm?
Yeah. See, that doesn't sound super bad. But when like the first you brought it up to me, you said, I'm thinking of doing 4 hours every single night. That made me go, Now
there's something in this. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'll attack my own sort of point of view here, which is I have experimented willingly and unwillingly through different sleep patterns. When I worked out in the mines, I think my worst roster was like a 4-3, 3-4, 4-4, something like that.
For people who don't know what that is, what does that mean?
Yeah, so that's like a 4 days on, 3 days off, switch to a night shift, and then do like 3 nights and then 4 days off or whatever it is, and then like 4 days and 4 nights. Like I can't remember why it was such a silly thing. Like all your weeks get messed up. I was there for 12 weeks and that's like the bare minimum you need to get into like a full swing.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I was doing with that was I was essentially switching from sleeping in the day to sleeping in the night once a week, essentially. And, even a little bit more if you consider some of the weird sort of days and parts of that roster. And, it's no surprise to me that also during that time was like sort of the most depressed I've ever been, the most anxious I've ever been. And if I look at other parts of my life where I would skip out on sleep as well when I had a full-time job, but I was essentially getting like 5 to 6 hours sleep a night during the week. And then on the weekends, I'd probably go for like the full 8 hours. Once again, like just looking at that period as a whole, I can sort of, pick out some things and go like, oh, okay, yeah, I think like that was having mental effects on me as well.
Okay.
So having gone through all those, I'm really reluctant to be going away from the standard sort of 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
And my problem is like, I'll talk about how the benefits of it and the science and whatnot, but I personally haven't gone through a lot of the, actual scientific things saying this is why it's so good, the data and whatnot.
Yeah. And getting back to what you were saying originally with the David Goggins thing, he strikes me as the individual that would say you should sleep 6 hours because you can do more. And so what if it is giving you a bit of short-term issues? Maybe, you're a bit more fatigued or you're not recovering as well because you have 2 hours more in every day and you can do more things. That's where I'd stop it. I'd stop at that line. I'd say, no, if you are continuously fatigued and you're kind of taking joy and emotion out of your day-to-day, then no, it's not worth that. Like you want to be trying to be firing.
That's it, I guess. Yeah, you want the most sort of like joy, pleasure, happiness out of a life that you can imagine, that you can physically do. So yeah, if you get lots right now, it's sort of like short-term thinking. If you go to the casino and spend all your money, yeah, you're going to have a hell of a night, but the rest of your life is going to suck. So that's probably a bad trade-off.
Yeah.
But then being super skint, and you see this with those really healthy people. I remember reading this one blog article of this lady who, when she was out, she wouldn't, everyone would say to her, like, you never really seem to laugh or smile or like have fun or whatnot. And the reason she didn't allow those emotions to surface was because she was worried about getting crow's eyes and lines on her forehead. So she would maintain this blank face.
Emotionless face.
So she probably got an extra 10 years without having the crow's eyes, without having the forehead furrows and whatnot. But goddamn, then, that's a heavy price to pay for not having, like, physically laughing.
Hanging out with the Jabberwockies.
Yeah, imagine every time someone said, like, you wanted to laugh and you couldn't scrunch up your eyes and do that. You just had to laugh internally, silently. Yeah. So that's not it.
Not interesting, no.
Just getting back onto the sleeping though, I am over these past like 3 or 4 days, I have been waking up earlier.
You have been.
That's just been with the sun. So it's actually waking up before my alarm. Well, not with the sun because the sun's well up in the sky by 6:30 a.m., 6 a.m. So I'm not sure exactly what it is. But yeah, those couple of days, I've sort of, broken my own rules in a sense, which is like 8 hours every night. I'm pretty meticulous. Like if I go to bed 11:30, my alarm's set for 7:31.
Yep.
And yeah, I've sort of been breaking that myself. So
have you felt it be a bit of a negative?
No. And, granted, it's only 3 or 4 days. So I'm willing to see what goes on. But if I keep doing that where it's like I wake up and I sort of just feel like, and it's a feel, right? It's not something you can.
Well, like I can tell you personally, I've been through weeks where it's like 70, 80, maybe a little bit higher than that, hours, week work days. And our poor friend Mitchell probably experiences them to this day.
Yeah, he would know this.
There was some of those days where you were just working all the time and you'd be really wrecked by the time the end of the week came. A little bit with sleep, but a little bit because obviously you're overly stressed and you're not allowing yourself to de-stress and just relax.
Yeah.
So sleep though is important. While I'm saying all this, the takeaway should be that sleep as much as you need.
Yeah.
Like it shouldn't be a case that you're taking away sleep and giving yourself like negative attributes. This is me saying, I think I can potentially sleep less.
Yeah.
And still have the exact same behaviors and models. In fact, it might be even better. Just because I'm oversleeping, and when I'm oversleeping, I feel tired.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you would feel this way. I mean, I don't know if you've ever really trained in the morning, but people might experience this if they know they train in the morning, where if you don't wake up and you sleep in and you don't train, you feel more tired than if you were to wake up, like say 2 hours earlier, train, you'll be more awake for the day.
Yeah,
like that's 100% for me.
Yeah.
So it may be the endorphins or it's a mixture of whatever, but it is true for me.
Yeah. The other reason I get worried for you is, with my experimentations of the sleeping stuff, it's always been like a year hindsight. Like I don't realize until a year later that it's like, oh man, that was really fucking me around. Like I was feeling really bad from that. And that's, a perpetual problem for me. Like I find out emotions and stuff. It takes like a year to digest and then be going like, oh, that's why that is linked to that.
Yeah, no, good point. One little one that I wanted to call out, because I've been tracking it a few times when we've been discussing, is the comment that was left on one of our YouTube videos, I believe, and was on the use of like. Now, that word like, or other stuff or words, can you recall back to our first episode or our very first episodes? And I can kind of recall back to doing chats with people, or when I was speaking to a group of people, that I would still be using a lot of filler words. Now, one thing that I think I've taken out of my vocabulary a lot is the ums and ahs. A lot of that. With friends, maybe not so much. Maybe it still remains.
Yep.
But in this podcast, I do try to keep it out of sight. Like hasn't been one that we've been focusing on though, which is kind of cool. I really enjoyed that comment. That was an excellent comment. I thought, awesome. I'll definitely try to be.
It was a good one.
Keeping myself on track with it.
And I think it was really good because I sort of noticed it in the time, and it was sort of something I remember noticing
of me saying as well.
Yeah, but it was sort of comes to the surface and then gets squashed down because I'm trying to listen to you and not focusing on things like that. So yeah, that was a great one to hear. Well, agreed. Whoever it was, I forget your name. It's something we're both working on, I think, and it's not 100% in the forefront of our mind because you can't have a good conversation if that's all you're concentrating on.
Yeah, and I was just going to take 2 points. Exactly. But I was going to get 2 points. One was, what do you do about it? Right? And 2, how do you recognize it? Because it's not just like, I think you've also talked to me about how when we're having conversations and interviews, I'll also say some particular things where it's kind of like the same, right?
Yeah. Well, I do the same as well. So,
but it's kind of like reflecting on yourself being like, oh, right? I just said like, it is just my filler word of trying to translate going from some story to another story. That is like why I do that.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to have to like reflect and go, okay, when I'm trying to combine 2 things rather than saying, oh, like this, just trying to think about, okay, well, it is this equivalent to this. All these sort of other ways that you could say it that isn't the same filler word, which if you were writing, you'd pick that up. You'd go, oh, I've said like 7 times.
Yep.
It might work also if you're a podcaster to look at your audio script as well. So transform your audio to text and even just read it and being like, wow, okay, I'm saying it all the time.
That's one thing we haven't done.
That's one thing. But the other one, though, that I'll take was from Tim Ferriss. It was from ages ago. The way that he learned to, I think it was the word like, or it might have been another one, is that he forced himself, it was interesting to say fuck straight after it. So he would always say like, oh, like, he would always say, oh, this is really interesting, or oh, interesting. And he'd force himself to swear afterwards so that he would go, oh, dang, I don't want to be just swearing in front of people randomly because of it. And obviously that aversion to do it is what helped me out in not saying it all the time.
Yeah, that's a good method. Another one is one I've actually been thinking of implementing. I'm going to see how it goes in October with one of my October goals. But if I find myself not doing it, I'm thinking of doing one of those ones where it's like, fuck, you get a $10 note. Yeah. You put it on the table and I say, if I do this thing or not do this thing, whatever it is, so ever so many times in this particular month or 3-month period, then you take that $10 and you donate it to
The worst.
Yeah, the worst thing you can imagine. The neo-Nazi party, the genocide of all people, whatever it is. Doesn't really matter.
The other one as well that you can try is a Pavlovian style training. And I know other people have done it more for when you're complaining.
Yeah.
So you can use it in a lot of other things.
Yeah, that's just when you eat a pavlova, right?
Exactly.
Every time.
So every time you say you have to eat a whole pavlova. And then by the end of the month, if you're not a fat shit, then you've done really well.
Nice.
But no, this one would be getting, say, a rubber band or something and putting it around your wrist, essentially. And every time that you notice yourself, first of all, saying it, or if someone else tells you about it, is every time you say, then you'd go, bang, and one quick little snap. So what it'll just teach you to do is every time that you're saying it, you've got this sort of small little negative reaction, which over time will build up and you'll kind of understand, okay, I shouldn't be saying that word anymore. It's sort of an aversion to it. That's a little bit more extreme, but it is a training style that you can do.
For sure. Have you noticed, the thing I also noticed was when we were using in that particular episode was... I'm pretty sure that was the Meanderings, the Muscle Bound Goon, and Hairy Toad. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
So it was a little bit more of like us getting a bit wild.
It was. I think it was more off the cuff and unprepared. And I'm not even sure it was the actual fun section where we were just talking really absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
I think it might have been the section before that or after that where we were trying to tell a story and it wasn't it was maybe a new story. It wasn't one we'd practiced. It was... And we were both sort of doing it, so we were both
the
reinforcing
filler words
each
came
other.
in easy.
Yeah, because I don't think if I had to guess, I don't think we do it as much in a themed episode because you've got your notes, I've got a particular topic and I've thought about it beforehand, so it's not going directly into unknown territory and whatnot. So
it's kind of like imagine I'm going from one brain pattern to another or one story to another. And for me, it's, okay, well, between this transition, because I'm still talking and trying to interact with you, I've got to have something that fills it into place. And one of the ones that I've gotten rid of is ums and uhs. Because you can really be like, and that's obviously really, really noticeable. But it's what's probably come into its place now, which might be dang. Because at least gives you like a little pause to be able to think about it differently.
Yeah.
That dude's probably going to hate this episode too.
Because we're just talking listening to this is just getting it full blast. Two things. One, the other reason I was saying that I think having that structure helps you not do it is I've been looking at my book reviews and analyzing those a bit more. And those I've definitely noticed I get to the point way more quicker. I'm having less thinking time up in my head.
Yep.
And usually it's when I'm looking out into space or something where that's where it gets me. The other one was a short story from when I was a kid in, I'm going to say grade 3, which is, this is getting close to like my earliest memories. That's close.
Yep.
And I vividly remember being in the library. Someone was telling a story or the teacher was asking someone to read. And it was one of those sort of games where every time you said, the teacher would make a note. And I just vividly remember her saying, you need to cut this out. You need to stop this. This is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And it was, librarian. So she's probably very well spoken, articulate. I want to say articulated, but that doesn't make sense. Articulate.
Yeah, articulated.
Maybe she could articulate as well. And that was something that would have been good to conquer right in that time.
Right at the
when
beginning.
I was, 8 years old, something like that.
When I raise my kid, and as soon as he says ums and ahs, I'm going to be like, that's not a word, mate. Like, speak again. Start again from wherever you began. Wherever you're doing, you have to restart. Dang. That ain't good. I've got a couple of other bits and pieces that I wrote down. Again, some of these pull out from... I really enjoyed Viktor Frankl's book, man. Yeah. Lots of stuff that came out of that. But
I'm glad you did, because I hyped it up and I was afraid I hyped it up too much and would ruin it for you.
But one thing, and maybe again rolls back up to the David Goggins quote, and this is why I think you thought that I was going to be in the opposite camp. One of the quotes that I pulled out from that book was, "It did not matter what we expected from life, but what life expected from us." And I like that quote. And what it also symbolizes in there for me, I like this whole thing where it's not so much that you expected to go and run 5Ks. It's more the opposite, looking at it from the other point of view that, hey, no, like you're running 5Ks. What are we going to be expecting from you? Are you going to walk it? Are you going to go home? Or are you going to actually just run it like you told us you're going to do? Right? Like just live telling you like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
What's going to go. Like the Russian equivalent of, it's the opposite way.
Yeah.
But that's why I have a little bit of a thought process like the David Goggins where he says, there's 20,000 push-ups. And it's not what you're expecting of life where, I'm really a bit sore. I've got sore joints and whatever else. No, it's like 20,000 push-ups are there. What are you, what's it expecting of you? Okay, step up and go and do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's where that mentality for me, that's why I find things like that really interesting and enjoyable to write and make sure I keep it somewhere. But I'll temper that there's a limit to that. But I think my limit is just a little bit further than maybe yours would be.
Yeah, I think it's a lot further.
So like if someone came right now and said, you can do a week of adventuring, going out into the mountains, you'll be challenged, it'll be enjoyable. We both listen to that, and I think both of us be like, okay, cool. We'd be down for that. We could do it. Now they said it's going to be a bit dangerous. You're going to probably be sleeping 4 hours each night. You're going to be having to hike maybe 50 kilometers every day, and you'll be carrying heavy stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I would be even more excited for it. I would be like, dang, this is good.
Yeah.
Obviously within the context that I'm not going to go and die, but
do something
it's even more of a challenge. And when I read it in this particular perspective, I see it even more where it's a challenge coming to you and life's asking you like, okay, what are you going to do stepping up to this bigger challenge? And I feel empowered by that.
Maybe it's you enjoy the new unexpected challenges in a sense. So one of the things I struggle with is doing something on the fly, spontaneous, that is whatever.
Yep.
So if someone did that, came up to you and said that, I could 100% see why you would really enjoy that because it's something totally new. It's a new opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And you're always, we sort of were not arguing, but having a serious discussion about our Instagram profile and things like that.
Is the most serious discussion of an Instagram profile.
Yeah. Well, certainly
probably would have heard for a while. Yeah.
And it sort of got me thinking, so, if it's a new challenge, if it's a new sort of something like that, I usually don't take that on board, but I enjoy making up my own challenges. So I enjoy doing other things that people would look at and be like, oh, goddamn, that's a crazy challenge. Why are you doing that? But for me, it's sort of more just an extension. It's not, it's more something I get to choose. Whereas I think you enjoy like the spontaneity, maybe the newness of something. Whereas for me, it needs to already align with something that I've got going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I think that sort of aspect, and why I mentioned the Instagram was, you had an opportunity elsewhere to do video camera and all this thing, and you could contract someone else. And that sort of thing.
It's a new opportunity that I think I was like, oh, this would be excellent.
Yeah. And for me, I think when that sort of thing comes in, I'm almost always like skeptical, judging it being, how does this fit in? Does this fit in well? No, get rid of it. And yeah, for me, it's sort of that's my initial thing. If it comes in, it doesn't fit, get rid of it. Whereas I think for you, it might be, if it comes in, doesn't fit, good. There's something new I can learn from this.
Yeah. And interestingly, that both of those views are good to have.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about it on the super extreme. That's kind of like a Jocko Willink or another mentality in that manner where, something comes in, it's like, awesome, good, let's just crush it, let's go and do this or go and do more. And you kind of see those individuals as like, okay, they're the ones who are going to get stuff done no matter what comes through. But in the opposite side, if you have a lot of stuff coming through and you are like that, then it's not going to work out very well for you because you're never going to get all the really top priority stuff done and you're going to be always focused on everything new that's coming through.
Yeah.
So there's good times to be like that and there's also going to be negative to it.
And this is why we work well together because if it wasn't for you, I don't think the podcast would be happening, at least in the current sense it is. We'd maybe be 6 months behind because you were one day said, let's do the podcast, let's do it.
Yep.
And for me, if I had that same, okay, I'm going to do a podcast.
You might have researched for like 2 months.
Yeah, it definitely would have been a long build up and lead up to that. So same thing with some of the maybe social media stuff. The Instagram, for example, I probably wouldn't have like dove into it or even created it. And then because you've done it now, for me, it's sort of, I see the benefit. And then that's when I'm like, okay, let's get stupid, ridiculously retarded in how specific I want things to be and how blah, blah, blah.
Which is good there because I'm never going to be like that.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get so into the weeds thinking this is this, but it is those little 2%, 1% that in the end make all the difference.
Yeah. And that's, I think, and then how do we decide between ourselves which is the right path to take when certain opportunities come up or don't come up and things need to change? And that's the magic, I guess. That's the element that everyone wants to know. How do I know to choose between this or between this? And you can provide specific examples and give your reasoning, but it's those ones, that discussion we had every day for 6 years. That's what transforms someone from being a well-known person, and if you still do the basics and the fundamentals, you're still going to become good. And then the absolute rocket sensation that becomes a Tim Ferriss or whatever. I think those sort of differences, there's enough people being the same in the world that they have those same problems that we were just talking about. And some people just have the right formula, whatever that is, and get that right, which then leads them on to way more success.
Yeah. Yep. I think you also have to, one of the, for some reason it came to my mind, but you also have to temper that whoever you are as well, you have to then just be you as well. You can't,
and
you can't really go and change yourself too easily. You can look up to others in terms of character, what they're doing, or the podcast. But in the end, whether it's our podcast or us as individuals, everybody else is already taken. So you might as well just be yourself.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's as Hemingway. I think he's put as being the person who said that quote, but no one's actually got any proof. So
okay.
It's now mine. But no, essentially, right? So we could say as an individual, you can look at other people's things or podcasts and how they act and want to be like that. But in the end, you can't be exactly Gary Vee. You can't exactly be Jocko. You can't exactly be David Goggins. You might fit in the scale in some areas very similar. In other areas, you'll be completely different. Sure. And it's just about finding out what is, like for me, understanding these are sort of things that, for me is like insights and motivating and what I like and matches my character and I can explain to other people and when I converse with people. And then learning to, like what we were saying, we might fit well in the stuff that we do because you've got strengths in one particular area and I've got them in the other. But same thing goes when you're working in business teams. I don't want to feel, and I used to think this a lot. I used to be thinking in my mind, I'm playing a sports game or I'm in this team. Oh, how fantastic if there was 9 wands. Everyone would be doing everything and working hard. But realistically, it's the variation, sure, of cultural backgrounds and knowledge, but of the way people work that you need all that variation because you need those people to be really detailed and the others to be strategic and others to be able to manage people and others and all this sort of stuff. So you need the variety. If you had just a homogeneous, human species, I think it'd be really boring.
It would,
and everyone would just kill each other. I think you'd all kill each other, or something else would happen.
Yeah, it's always interesting to do that thought experiment of if you met yourself in, say, you had 100 people who were yourself, but they were different bodies, but changed just enough that it's still your personality, but in a different body. They still have most of the core underlying things. How would you actually like that person? And I know the answer for me, because I used to play this game a lot when I was younger, the answer was no, I wouldn't like that person. I saw, all I could see was the flaws in myself. And if I saw them in other people as readily as I could see them in myself, it would mean, no, I wouldn't like that person. Nowadays, I think it's a little bit better. I think I'd, at least be able to get on. I don't know if I'd really like them. But, yes. So that's an interesting game. You ever done that?
Don't think I've done it that specifically, no.
Yeah, because
it might be a good thing.
Because it's good to play it in a long-term sense because whatever day. If you met Juan on your worst day, you're probably not going to like that dude.
Nah, no way.
You know, comparing you to your baseline.
If someone brings me green and it's supposed to be blue, and I'm in my worst mood, it's gonna be nasty.
Yeah, but it's not green.
The
other one was you're actually rubbing off on me in some respects, which was the other day when I was doing a podcast with the family podcast.
Oh, yep.
I actually used one of your quotes, which was hold strong opinions loosely.
Yes,
something like that.
Have strong opinions held loosely.
Yeah, that's the one. That's one. And I managed to actually say it right. In the moment, which was nice.
Yep.
So we've talked before how I don't like quotes and blah blah blah, and yet here
he is pulling a quote
from Juan's Arsenal. So
dang,
there's good things to be said for being yourself, and then other people rubbing off on you.
It is. And it's using that and molding it within yourself, right?
And one last thing on this was 3 times, I think, in the last week. So one with Jax from the couple of lattes.
Yep.
The two guys from the families, Don and Sammy, just FYI. And it was someone else, I can't remember who. They were saying one of the things I really like about us was, I guess, the differences, and you're very similar but very different in other ways. So it sort of sounds like, you know, self-congratulatory, speaking about ourselves for half an hour now.
Yep.
But that's what people seem to find interesting between us, which for me is like, oh, that's really cool. Why exactly do they find that interesting? Because it's sort of hard to see from your own point of view the discussions we have at times.
It is. And I think a lot of people struggle, like I've seen it in business, people struggle with communicating with others. So I think this wasn't a recent interview, but there is talking and then there's communicating. And a lot of people just try to talk over one another and just talk without really listening or communicating, especially when you've got people who are trying to communicate differing views. That's where it can get all sorts of nasty.
Yeah.
And someone's saying something and the other person trying to say something, and you're not even close to each other. Well, you might as well just be talking to the wall at that point. You're not getting anywhere.
Do you have a specific one worst example of watching two people or you yourself being in the convo where it's just, you can see it going nowhere. It's just grinding and repeating and people going past each other. There's one I remember.
There's plenty of times when that's happened. I mean, specifically from a work perspective, I do recall a meeting taking place, and it was online, so it made it a little bit worse. That makes it harder, yeah, because people just kind of get to hide behind the computer. And there was a lot of techie people, like really heavy techie people, and there was a particular issue at hand. And one particular team thought it was to do with something, and the other team was sort of to do with something. You can kind of prove that it was from one team, but the other team couldn't actually go and do the change. So what ensued was one team telling them, like, it's this, and you got to go and fix. And the other team kind of shooting back and saying, oh, show us the proof. We're not going to do anything. We're too busy. We're all this. And it was a really high priority issue. And people were going back and forth for ages with no resolution. Like, everyone was just, the thing there was everyone was focused on, it's about me or us that we're talking about. And this is what we're saying. This is what it is. Never really realizing that there's a separate thing that they were, like, the goal, what the actual goal should have been. No one's even focusing on it anymore.
Yeah, the huge overlying goal while you're actually at work.
Yeah, and so like this, like with us, I think there's a good position there where we sometimes, like, say where it's a definition or whatever it may be, we sometimes can disagree on it and go completely different ways. But we're still kind of talking to that one thing. So whereas like gullibility, and you were talking about a particular definition, and okay, it was a little bit different, and we're trying to like get more to it.
Yeah.
It's almost the example of we're trying to triangulate to the truth.
Yeah.
And if we don't get there, that's okay. But we've tried to like converge at some point.
Yeah.
And we know where we didn't. But it's not a case to say one's wrong and the other person's right. It's just you didn't reach it. You got to a point. Okay, move on.
Yeah.
Right. Where in this particular scenario, everyone was just going flat out.
How long did it go for?
And I think it went for like 20 minutes until we had to pull people. Well, this was like something that should have been done like straight away.
Yeah, okay.
And we had to keep pulling higher senior people, which still just had this like this banter ride just going until someone really senior came in. Not senior from like even management, just someone who was at a powerful enough level that had to be like, you have to do this right now.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, well, we can't say no anymore. We have to do it and fix the thing. So, whereas maybe at the start, if people had gone, if this team said, trying to communicate, hey, this is wrong, and the other team kind of shot back and said, no, it isn't, show us the proof. Maybe take a little bit of go, okay, well, we can talk smack and whatever for another 20 minutes, or can we just get someone for 5 minutes to go and show that proof just so we can get that, or try to align themselves to the particular goal that it was. So what was your story?
I think I can trace the reason I'm not working in a mine right now to
to this particular thing.
Maybe not this exact particular one, but it embodied. So there's the hero, right? And then there's the meta hero. There's the hero's hero. This is like the meetings, and then this is the meta meeting. This is the meeting that encompasses what all meeting, the true essence of what a meeting is.
Yeah.
And it just very similar to what you're saying, but this went for, I think, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I played zero part in the discussion. I was an onlooker who had some knowledge that could have been useful at some point, but was never brought up.
Yep.
There was a room of about 10 of us, and it essentially got to two people in particular just arguing over this one thing, and everyone else was, sort of in one camp or another, but not 100%. And there was, I think this was superintendent, so there was maybe two or three people above them who could be called at some point to solve this. And it's a meeting, like it wasn't online, it was in person, and the managers weren't there, and the mine, what's it called? Mine manager, I guess. I can't even remember what it was called. They weren't there. So this just went on and on for an hour and a half, and everyone was getting more and more frustrated, and it got past that point where normal people would say, okay, this is going nowhere. It got to that point. We said this is going nowhere, and then it went an extra half an hour.
Ooh.
So this meeting encompassed the reason I'm probably not at work now. If there was no meetings, if I didn't have to go to meetings, I would probably still be working out at the mine.
Okay,
I reckon that. I think that's one of the things that pushed me towards being like, nah.
One thing that I think you'd hate about tech is, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, what a tech bridge is called, what it is. No. A tech bridge is, you get a group of people together, generally is for technical, and I don't know whether this term is for every sort of tech place out there, but I'll describe it essentially as, you get the people who are key to solving something or a particular issue or something that you want to discuss, and you will get in a meeting with the people needed, and the meeting will not end until the thing is solved. And I have been in double-digit hour meetings of tech bridges, and some of these tech bridges have gone like days.
Yeah,
right. Where people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to go sleep." And in fact, one of my mates actually reached out. He was telling me about this particular thing where he said he had to go to lunch, where he got called in to do work that he wasn't even scheduled to. Like, so he actually was. It was on a weekend. Yeah. It was on a Saturday. He wasn't scheduled to work on this particular weekend because he said, I'm with my family doing some other stuff. Got called in to support because they just couldn't find the other guy or something. So he came in, like ran home from where he was to go and do this work. He then got on, was on there for a couple of hours, and then said, I need to go get some food. I haven't eaten. I'm going to get some lunch. And one of the very senior people, like, just gave him absolute hell for kind of saying, like, whoa, why would you go and do this? Like, all of us are working hard.
Yeah.
And he was just like, man. Oh. So that sounds like that would fit right up your alley.
Yeah,
that would be right up your alley.
That's right up there.
I want to finish it off with this, because something I haven't told you. Okay. Listeners might like.
I've established
a little bit, maybe. Ooh. I've established something along with my legendary list.
Okay.
I was thinking, I've tagged things along, my sort of big categories, the way I'm writing down my notes for books, my learnings, where it fits, quotes, blah, blah, blah. And I thought I'll be able to review that, and it's searchable, and I really enjoy that. But what's a way that I can start even summarizing that even more? Mm-hmm. And I look back at how it's generally been done. The Tim Ferrisses of the world, or everyone else. You generally come up with your own philosophies and your own particular ideas or things. So the way that I've called it is my maxims.
Ooh.
And I said maxims just purely because I was like, mere mortal maxims.
Yeah.
Oh, the M's. So what I've done is I've now got 4 maxims. so far. But what I'm trying to do is every so often, maybe monthly or 2 months, I'll kind of review a lot of what I've done, and I'll try to condense maybe some new learning or something that I've taken away, because I can really see it maybe month to month or every couple of weeks. I'll see a particular trend that I really like or I'm really hearing, and what I really want to do is try to get that into like a clean one sentence piece that I can take away either as a learning or as an action or something else, as a maxim that I can look back and go, oh, cool. Okay, that sentence sort of encapsulates a lot of information that I've learned in a one succinct thing. So I'm trying to do it into like a sentence and then the action that should be taken based on that. So I was going to share with you one of them.
Yeah.
So it's
hit me up.
So one of the maxims, I think it's number 4 at the moment, is live as if you were living already for the second time and you had already acted incorrectly the first time.
Okay.
Now this is directly from logotherapy from Viktor Frankl. This is made one of my maxims directly. And he gave an example of it. And I just thought, what a fantastic way to think about it. In particular with, say I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm getting a little bit angry. Having that split second thought of, just imagine, pull yourself out, like you'd already lived. You're about to do what you know you're going to do, which is maybe get angry because that's what you're feeling. And you know that's not, that you can already picture that if you move it future ahead, that's not going to work out. Like you can already see the issue with it.
Yeah.
The whole premise of that maxim, I guess, is to pull you out from your current thinking into, because we struggle a lot when it's current thinking.
Autopilot.
And autopiloting and looking at it. But when you look at it in the past, you obviously have that retrospective view on like, oh, I could have done it this way. What that entails to do is force that past almost into the future, because we struggle with the future. Move it into the future to go, okay, if that was what is going to happen, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to act a different way.
Yeah.
So I want to raise that maxims. Everyone's got obviously their own little names and little different things for it. I'm trialing it out.
Yeah.
A couple of months, I'll come back to see, is it worth it? Am I referring to it or am I not?
I want the viewers to know that that's probably about the sexiest thing I've heard like in a year.
Maxims.
No, not necessarily the word maxim, but the synthesizing, like synthesizing? I don't know how to say that. Yep. The condensing of information to even condensing it even more.
He loves it. Oh, just and if you wanted to visualize it, it's kind of, you know, when you...
Yeah, man. You're lucky you didn't put it on the board.
Yeah, it's when you're
breaking out.
It's when you get, you know, a big bunch of grapes.
Yeah.
And you squeeze it with your hands to get down some juice.
Yeah.
But then you sift the juice down a bit more and you get that really fine, beautiful liquid, and you just you bottle it up and it's just a little elixir. You drink it. Oh, fantastic. And that is how we're ending episode 90 Musings. You know, we've gone a while. I don't even know how long this episode's been. It's a long episode, but it's been a good episode. If you want to check out more good episodes, if you want to find out some of our other learnings, maybe other different things, book reviews, everything else.
There's a good topic. So we tell people to view stuff, but we have to acknowledge as well that some of our stuff is better than others. So yes. I think if you are looking for a good laugh, for some good shit talking, then I can't remember the actual episode number now. We're getting too high, but the muscle-bound goons and hairy toads is a fantastic episode.
It is.
I enjoyed that immensely in the actual moment, and then even more listening to it afterwards. I think going back and seeing the principles as well is really interesting, just seeing where we came from and comparing how different we are now from then. And I think you can see a lot of the differences in terms of quality and audio and things like that.
Yep.
But the way we are as people, I think, is very, very similar. Like it's, I don't think you'll see that much change in a year from what we were then to what we were now. So those two stick out for me.
Okay.
Those ones. Do you have any a particular favorite?
Oh, of the ones that we've done so far, I mean, I did like the breathing one.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that one. Yeah. I think because there was a lot of stuff in there packed that we were able to kind of condense down.
Yeah. So
Interviews as well. If you haven't checked out much of the interviews, I really enjoyed listening to Jackie's. Okay. I've now been listening to, here's an interesting one for you. So most of the episodes from Mere Mortals, I wouldn't generally go back and listen to. Like specifically go and listen to get learnings. Interviews though, that I obviously haven't gone and done the interview. It's been yours. Some of the earlier ones, I kind of listened to a few of them. Not all the way though.
Yeah.
Just more the part like, I've got other things to do. Cool. But some of the more later ones that are coming out, Jackie's one, I listened to that, just the whole thing, right? And I was like, oh, awesome. Got some good takeaways. Volunteerism and everything like that.
Yeah.
Really, really good. But specifically, the book reviews. Again, if you haven't checked out some of the book reviews, you can tell the difference between some of the originals and the later ones.
Sure.
I wish we could do Ordinary Men in the new quality. If you go and check out Ordinary Men, because a lot of people really enjoy that video.
It's our most popular.
It's our most popular one. Go and check it out. There's a reason why. It's a lot of info in there. But the book reviews of now are, I would say, some of the better book reviews I've ever seen on podcasts. I've never seen another book review like that. Seriously.
So it's the best.
It's the only one. But of discussing books, though, I've not come across one that's of the same thing. Like, where book reviews normally get split into really reviewing the whole book, like going like all
this
detailed.
Is the whole theme. This is
synopsis, story, breakdown, and then you have some really short. I once looked at one for Tim Ferriss's Tribal Mentors, and it was like 2 minutes. And the guy, I shit you not, the guy was like, Tribal Mentors, throws the book on the thing, goes, it's pretty thick, pages, 2 minutes. 100,000 views. I was like, what? But in terms of content, I think some of our book reviews are awesome. Obviously, especially coming from Kyrin. So a lot of those are plowing through from him. So I think a lot of info that you can get from books.
Yeah, nice. Definitely. Yeah, I'd agree as far as the amount of effort and time that's condensed into a short time period.
The book reviews have it.
Yeah. Because I spent a bit of time, well, obviously reading the book and then putting in my notes and thoughts in order, trying to get out the best things from it.
You think about it. Each book review has 30 hours invested time.
Because 30?
For you reading
that's
it?
too much. I'd say 15.
Okay.
15.
Me, 2 months. 2 months for everyone you see of mine. 2 months. All right. Episode 90.
Yeah.
Musings, one out.
Kyrin out.